Hey guys, today I have this Lenovo Yoga 7 2-in-1, which has got the latest AMD chipset refresh for 2025. It looks very similar to some of the previous models, but I want to give you some quick thoughts on my part in this very unprofessional video, as always. Just some pros and cons from my perspective as a technician who's done this now for 20-something years and who has reviewed tech products now for decades. So I'm going to start with my first pro, which is the case. I do really like these aluminum cases on these new Yogas. I think they're quite a bit nicer than some of the older cases are, or at least they're more practical, I would say. They feel really good in the hand. They've got these chiseled, like beveled edges here. It's really nice CNC aluminum here, and it just feels sturdy. It feels a little bit more adjacent to business grade, kind of as what I said about the HP OmniBook I reviewed recently, which is, I think, a really nice movement. So I also really like this lip on the front. This is something they've had for a while. It kind of helps you open it. It's a nice little perk there. And on the bottom here, I do find this amusing. We have this giant sticker. Just by the way, to let you guys know, you're not supposed to put any of this in your mouth, including things that are internal to it. Apparently nobody finds that interesting, but Lenovo's lawyers. And then this is carbon neutral, if you find that interesting. These rubber feet aren't super grippy, but they do okay. There are quad speakers. There's two on the bottom here that are down firing, of course. And then there's also two flanking the keyboard that you'll see when I open it up in a minute here. And then we've got this giant intake grill on the bottom, this ventilation grill. You will see the Lenovo recovery button here that you can press with like a needle that will help you to get back to one key recovery in case you have a problem with your OS and you want to go back to factory settings. And then finally, these screws here are 7 Torx screws is what those are. It's relatively easy to get the back off, as you're going to see in a minute when I take it off. But you kind of need to pry probably near here at the top, I think, is probably the safest place to start. And you have to be very careful with it because, again, these things are not super duper durable, but they are better than they used to be. And I want to show you the ports really quickly, too. So first of all, uncommonly now, we have HDMI, which is nice to have in a laptop of this size. We've got 2 USB-C ports. There's one on the other side as well. They're not Thunderbolt, but they are USB-C. I think it's 10 gigabit, if I'm not mistaken. And then this is a headphone microphone jack. Combo audio. And then we've also got micro SD, again, nice to have, and USB-A, again, increasingly uncommon. So I do like that as well. And on the back here, we've got these exhaust grills. I think those are pretty large, and it does a pretty good job with heat. It does heat up a little bit on the bottom, but nothing really terrible. These AMD chipsets are quite nice. So let's take a look at the rest of this now. The case does a pretty good job, again, of the stability here. You can press down, and you don't get a whole lot of flex on this thing. The lid is pretty robust here. I really do like the design. I think it's sleek. These side-mounted flank speakers here are quite nice. I did notice some weird design problems with mine. Like, for instance, I don't know if you can see this, but there is like a shiny spot here above the F key, which is kind of weird. Just, again, manufacturing inconsistencies. I don't know if Lenovo's manufacturing is up to snuff with like Quanta and Foxconn these days. I like the stability of the hinges. They don't wobble a bunch during typing like some of these machines do. And I also like the smooth finish of the metal, which is, again, pretty typical stuff. This is nothing special or anything like that, but it feels nice to use on the lap. It's really nice for lap-based use. Oh yeah, and the weight, it's about 3 pounds and 2.5 ounces per my measurements. So pretty middle ground for a 14-inch laptop convertible. And speaking of convertible, of course, you can use the hinges in 360-degree fashion. It is a Yoga. Obviously, that's what those are all about. I don't know how often people actually do this, but it's fine. And you've got your ventilation grills up here, so it does a pretty good job of exhausting through the hinge. Another pretty normal thing these days. Of course, it intakes through the bottom. I do overall like this design. I think it is nicer than the average $600-ish laptop. The Yogas tend to do a better job with the gyrometer and the handling of the different form factors and stuff like that than some of the competing laptops, like the copycats, I guess you'd say. Overall, pleased with the design. That's definitely the first major pro. The next one I want to talk about, and this is not going to surprise anybody who's used one of these or any real Lenovo decent device in the past several years, is excellent input devices. The keyboard, for starters, is terrific. It's 1.5 millimeters of key travel. You can really tell it's perfectly tuned by my estimation. I would have to rate it probably like an 8-ish, maybe a 9 out of 10. It's that good. I didn't have any typos or problems with that. I love the fact that the keys are spaced apart enough to where you don't have a tendency to accidentally hit the wrong key. A lot of these zero lattice keyboards that are popular these days because they look sexy are just not as good to type on, in my opinion. And then the touchpad, also another thing, hot take, it's not a capacitive, touchpad with the virtual clicks, so to speak, like was made popular by the MacBooks. This is a standard click pad. So you actually press it in and it actually depresses, and it has a nice, hear that? Not too loud of a click. It's pretty quiet. Same with the keyboard. relatively quiet, but it really is well defined. So you can tell when you're tapping keys, you can tell when you're tapping on the touchpad. Everything works as you'd expect it to. So I really do like the input devices. That's a huge plus. All right, and then the next big pro is going to be CPU performance, because take a look at this. These are great scores, right in line with almost like an Intel Core Ultra 7 258V, which is impressive at this price point. It's well priced if you get it for under $600. That's for sure with this kind of performance. And the heat isn't too bad. Like thermally, the case doesn't get too hot. During these benchmarks, it wasn't uncomfortable to the touch. The underside was a little warmer than the top, I think, but nothing terrible. And then from a GPU performance perspective, again, not a con necessarily, but not a pro. The GPU is fine. You're not going to run games on it or anything like that. And again, this isn't going to be like a video editing workhorse or anything of that nature. As long as you know what you're getting into, it's totally fine. And although I can't really demo this, the next pro is going to be the audio, because I think it actually sounds surprisingly better than I expected. It is quad audio. You've got these two speakers on the front, and then you've got these two on the bottom, which is a pretty common design these days. It is Realtek audio, of course. Everything is these days, naturally. It doesn't sound as good as like a MacBook, obviously, or anything of that nature, or even one of the Dell 13 Premiums, I think, sound better. The audio overall is pretty good, so I think you'll be pleasantly surprised about that. And then although I don't have any actual data to share with you on this, I have used this for a couple of days, unplugged, plugged in, unplugged, plugged in, and I will say the battery life has also been better than I expected. I want to say it's probably somewhere in the 8 to 10 hour range, which is fine for an OLED display. OLEDs do suck a little more power. The battery's quite large in this, though. It does a really good job of sipping power, so I think most people will be pleasantly surprised about that as well. Not as good as the Intel's probably, but still pretty good. All right, so before we get to the cons, let's talk a little bit about the components. So yeah, this is actually pretty well priced right now. I mean, this is around Black Friday. It's $530. This is probably better than I would expect for this type of laptop, but not too much better. I would say if you're spending somewhere in the $600-700 range, you feel pretty good about this. If you're spending $1,000, I think it's too much with these specs. But let's talk about the specs real quick. This is the exact configuration we've got here. It's an AMD Ryzen AI 5 340 CPU. It does have 6 cores and 12 threads, which is pretty good. And the clock rate is high, up to 4.8 gigahertz is quite fast. So now that is subject, of course, to thermal constraints, and this thing does get kind of warm, so you're not going to use it for like maxing out video editing and things like that. That's probably not what it's really meant for, obviously. And again, the graphics, of course, are integrated graphics, and they're among the slower integrated graphics, I think, in this chipset, or in this generation in general. So if you're looking for graphical performance, this is really not it. You're not going to play games on this thing other than maybe like Minecraft or something like that. It is Windows 11 Home. It's got 16 gigs of LPDDR5X RAM, which is soldered. Again, you can't upgrade that. It's pretty normal in most modern laptops, but 16 gigs is plenty for most people. And 512 gigs it is modular solid state storage. It is an M22242. We'll come back to that in a bit too when we open it up. So, and the webcam, I'm going to test that in a bit. It's a 5 megapixel infrared webcam, and it does have a privacy shutter as well. You can actually close that up here. I don't know if you can see this. So that's nice to have, built-in privacy shutter. Wi-Fi 7 with Bluetooth 5.4. The display, I'll come back to this in a bit. It is a 14-inch 1920 by 1200. It is an OLED on this model, and it is, of course, glossy. It's a touch display. It's HDR 500. That's always something you can question. And of course, it does have naturally infinite contrast because it's an OLED. That means when the pixels are off, they actually don't light up at all. So it's an individual pixel power, essentially. 100% DCI P3 color. The color's fine. I'm not blown away by it. Again, I'll come back to that. 400 nit brightness. I also question that. It's not as bright as I was expecting it. And it's only a 60 hertz display. So the display is really nothing special, despite the fact that it's an OLED, but it's perfectly serviceable if you're just using this for kind of like daily use and stuff like that. Again, the fingerprint reader, and then it is a 1-year mail-in warranty, which is, again, pretty typical for these. All right, so once inside, we have an easily removable battery, giant battery, of course. And then we've got these speakers, the M22242 sized SSD, which is Lenovo's favorite size, not the easiest to find, although you can find adapters online for like M22230 drives, so you can use them in that slot, and it may in fact be cheaper than trying to find a matching M22242 good quality SSD. This one in particular is in SK Hynix. It's one of the better brands. I like that. Here is, actually, well, let's talk about this first. This is the WLAN adapter. I like that that's modular. A lot of newer laptops don't have a modular WLAN adapter, and it's nice that it's replaceable. The heatsink and fan is relatively easy to get to, just three Phillips head screws. In fact, everything inside here is Phillips head. There's the CMOS battery. It's kind of hard to see up here. It hides with this matte covering. And then this thing here, you might wonder what it is. It's a rather uncommon thing to see. It looks like a small solid state drive, but what it actually is with its M2 style connector is a PMIC board. It regulates voltage to other components inside here, and it supposedly is helpful for like power management and battery life and things like that. One other thing I want to mention before I put this back together is that even though the case is metal, you do have this plastic bracket inside that everything kind of screws into in the internal parts. That's pretty common even on commercial laptops these days, but the hinges screw into that plastic, and that could be a problem if you have a shock to a hinge. It could actually break this plastic retaining bracket underneath the hinges, which is actually part of the palm rest, the upper case portion, which is not the greatest thing for durability, but as long as you're kind of gentle with it, I mean, this is a typical, consumer higher end design, so not too bad. All right, and before we get into the cons, let's talk a little bit about the components in this, just to kind of split this up. So first of all, we've talked about the CPU. It's an AMD Ryzen AI 5 340. It performs better than you would expect if you haven't used one of these, and it's also relatively efficient, not too much heat, etc. Again, the memory is 16 gigs of LPDDR5X. I believe it's at 7,500 megahertz, which is pretty fast. And the solid state drive, this is a lottery. Everybody's probably going to get a different one, but we got an SK Hynix, which is a nice drive. That's probably one of the better manufacturers. I'd say maybe second to Samsung, probably is my favorite. The Wi-Fi card is Realtek. It is modular. You can replace that if you have a problem with it. And then this has a 50 TOPS rated NPU. So for AI, in-device computing, basically it's capable, and it's called a Copilot Plus computer by Microsoft's designation because of that. There's not a lot of on-device AI stuff right now that really makes a lot of sense for most people, in my opinion, but it's nice to have that flexibility in case in the future you're going to do like, recall or something like that, any kind of AI art that you don't want to send out to the internet, I guess, that kind of stuff. And again, the GPU, nothing special. It definitely is underpowered by some of the other iGPU standards these days, and it doesn't hold a candle to a dedicated GPU, but you get what you get, and you're really not looking for overuse of power. If you want something that's more power sipping, this is kind of along those lines. From a value perspective, this is probably a better deal than the Intel V series chipsets with those integrated graphics chipsets. Those do better from a performance perspective in most cases and an efficiency perspective. But if you're looking to save some money and you still want really good performance out of your CPU, and maybe you care a little bit less about the GPU, this is a great option. All right, so just a few cons, and I'm happy to report in advance there's not really a lot of actual true negatives to this. There's just a couple of things that are disappointing maybe that I should mention. The first one, and ultimately this is probably going to be a bit divisive, is the display is a little disappointing, to be honest with you. Even though it's an OLED display, this particular one, which is a 1920 by 1200, also called WUXGA, it's only 60 hertz, and it's kind of got a middling brightness, I think. I mean, they quote 400 nits, but I don't know if I believe that. I've got all the efficiency stuff turned off, and of course right now it's plugged in, and it still doesn't look all that bright to me. I've certainly seen brighter OLED displays on some of the other consumer models, but it's fine. Again, if you're going to use it mostly indoors, you're not going to have any problems with it. Outdoors might be more of an issue. The reflections are pretty noticeable on this, but it just doesn't look as nice as some of the others if you've got it side by side. So even the HP OmniBook 7 Flip 16, I think has a better overall display. Again, minor thing, but I want to mention it in the cons because it may disappoint you if you look at this and think OLED, that's great when you're buying it. It's just not as nice as some of the other OLEDs. The next thing is this is more of a nitpick, okay? But it's got white keys and they're backlit. I don't love that design. They do that on a lot of laptops. I really still don't understand why. It makes it harder to see during the daylight, but it is pretty well calibrated to not turn itself on during daytime. So, of course, if you turn on the backlight, you can kind of see what I'm talking about. See how it makes it difficult to see the actual labels on the keys? Minor nitpick, but it's something that I think a lot of manufacturers do just because it looks nice when it's off and they don't think about the usability when it's turned on. So again, minor stuff. And then the last thing, and this is kind of my own little personal pet peeve, not a huge fan of side-mounted power buttons. This one is recessed, so it doesn't get accidentally pressed as easily, but it's still a little bit out. See that? It protrudes a bit. And if you're trying to plug something into the left side, like for instance this power cable, and you find yourself stabilizing the laptop like this, you can accidentally hit the power button. And that kind of sucks. It's just annoying. Obviously, it's not a big deal. It comes back on pretty quickly, but just a minor nitpick. Okay, so overall thoughts on this Yoga 7 2-in-1. I'd say if you're getting this for $500-$600, it's a great deal and you should definitely buy it. If you're into this size and you want something that's got good performance, you don't care that much about 10 plus hours of battery life, and you're not going to be completely, flabbergasted by the fact that you don't have the nicest display on the market, I think this is the way to go. Yes, they have nicer displays. There's ones out there with like 2880 by 1800 resolution OLEDs that just look nicer in general for some reason. They're a little brighter maybe. This one's fine though. It's pretty good, and it's still better than a comparable IPS. The keyboard and the touchpad are terrific. I mean, there's really nothing to criticize about them in my opinion. I'm even fine with these arrow keys, these up and downs that a lot of people complain about are half height. They're fine. They have really good feedback. I don't have any problem using them, and I didn't have any issue with them during my setup and my usage of the machine. The hinges are tight. The overall construction is pretty robust, so it's just a really nice metal case, aluminum case. I think it feels great, and it's really comfortable on the lap. So again, the design overall is fantastic. The performance is really good. The battery life is good enough. The audio is great, and the CPU performance, like I said, is better than the GPU, but as long as you're not using this for like video editing or any kind of like significant gaming beyond like maybe Minecraft, you're totally fine. The other stuff are really just nitpicks. So not a lot of other negatives. If you're paying more than I'd say 800 for this, I would think about it. I don't know if I'd do it with these specs for more than that amount, but anything under 700, it's a pretty good deal. So overall, I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you want more like random tech musings and reviews of products that I find interesting, please subscribe, check it out. These are all the products that have been purchased. They're not provided to me or anything like that, so I'm not being prodded by companies to provide certain types of feedback, and I hope that's useful to you. So I hope you have a great day, and I'll talk to you soon.